There you go, a little George Strait with Love Without End. Amen. We've got the library in with us, Lacey Gibson and Lori Durbin with the library. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everybody?
We're doing good.
Fantastic, Sandy.
Yeah.
How are you?
Good.
Good.
Yeah, that sun's shining. Woo.
The sun is
Beautiful.
shining.
It's going to be in the 70s today.
But I have to tell on myself because I know, everyone's going to laugh because I remembered I was supposed to be here at 3 o'clock this morning. And
You were
then-
supposed to be here at 3.
No, I remembered when I woke up at 3 o'clock this morning that I was supposed
Yeah?
to be here this morning. And then when I got up this morning, it was completely gone, erased from my brain. So I got a text from Lacey literally 2 minutes ago that
Yeah.
said, "Where are you?" And
That's
I
what she
said,
said.
"I'm on my way." I wasn't really prepared to even leave my house yet, but So fortunately, you're doing this on YouTube,
Yeah.
so that
you-
everyone can see
Yeah.
how ill prepared. Look at my hair. Isn't it
See,
lovely?
that's wonderful.
beautiful.
See,
It's
that's
radio.
It's beautiful.
That's what it's all about.
You know what? I am here.
Yes.
And I am so excited and prepared to talk about what we have coming up.
Okay.
That it was worth my coming, looking, not quite prepared.
The adrenaline will just make her
You
more
know,
excited.
Absolutely. Before we start that, how did
yes.
your rock presentation go?
Oh, Sandy.
It was so
oh,
good.
Sandy.
Was it awesome?
Yes.
We will be bringing her back.
Good.
Because the people who were there, almost every single person left saying, this place should have been packed. This parking lot should have been full. People have missed. She is a dynamic, exciting, really gregarious, but super passionate about what she does. And so she just gave a fantastic presentation and explained all about what she was doing and, why she was doing it and how do you find these things, in the state parks. And, Lacey turned around at one time and was like, something like, can we just keep her in our pocket or
Yes.
something? Because she's
Yes.
just, she's just a really fun, dynamic person. And,
She's a great storyteller.
oh my gosh. I
Yeah.
mean, she just had so many fun things. And I've already talked to her and I, had gotten quite a lot of information, but she said things that I didn't even, hadn't even already heard. And sometimes when I talk to presenters, I kind of get almost everything they're going to say, but I didn't this time. And so we asked her if she would come back.
Okay.
And maybe even bring a few more of her photographs that she has. She kind of limited what she had, at the library this time. And so I think we're going to ask her to do. But what she did that was really interesting was she showed us the raw shots of what she took.
Okay.
And then what she did to tweak them so that you could clearly see the faces in the rocks. And it was more of it was like lighting. Like she didn't draw anything in. It was not Photoshop. It was not, you could clearly see that shape. And then she just enhanced it enough that it was really clear to somebody who maybe wasn't trained to look for it. So it was wonderful. You can still come in and see those photographs until the 22nd.
Okay.
And I really highly recommend that people come by, especially if you're a state park person.
Yeah.
And you want to maybe do some state park stuff this summer. Because you can take a picture of these geographical locations and you can walk right down the trail. None of what she did was off trail. So she could, you go right down the trail and see what she saw. So you have to look for it a little bit, but it makes you look at things differently, doesn't it, Lacey?
Yeah, I already bought my hiking boots, so
Yeah.
we're going to go hiking.
She's already decided that, that she's going to get out there. And I do think that's a really, that's a fun way to look back at, to look at nature in a whole different way. So it was fabulous. And if you were a person who thought you were going to come and didn't, keep a lookout for our calendar, maybe in the fall, and maybe after the summer leaves are gone, and maybe some things are a little more visible. We'll have her come back and have her go through what she's done, and bring in some new pictures. So yeah, it was very cool. We have been very fortunate to have run across some really amazing people for this year. We have a lot of really cool things coming up. We've got a lot of sponsorship with the radio station. We're working together on several things, and that's the program that's coming up on the 29th
Of this month.
Of this month, we're doing a tea with Amelia Earhart. And so we're celebrating Women's History Month. Lacey, why don't you tell them a little bit about how you thought about putting this together? I mean, what we got an email about Adrian was
I think I was just looking for things to do last year, and I was like, Women's History Month, we need to do something for Women's History Month. So then I was searching and trying to find, what would bring people in, what would people be interested in. And then I remembered Adrienne Provenzano. She came to the library. Oh my goodness, when was that?
It was well before
We were
COVID.
we had a whole Frankenstein program, and she came in and portrayed Mary Shelley.
Okay.
And people loved her. She was so great. And then during COVID, she was supposed to come in person and do a suffragette program for us, but since COVID, she did it virtually. Still amazing, a wonderful program. So I reached out to her and I said, hey, we would like to do something for Women's History Month. And I said, what do you have to offer? And she said a couple of options, but when she said Amelia, I was like, oh, I think people would love to see Amelia Earhart. And
Well, I think I think we kind of talked about that a little bit. Amelia Earhart is somebody that you hear the name, you definitely make that association. I mean, I hope at least even younger people do make that association as well. Lost, trying to do an around the world flight, and kind of a mystery. We don't really know exactly what happened, and Adrienne has a really good way of researching the people that she's going to portray. She works with NASA.
Yeah.
She's got quite an education, and she's actually a very talented actress. And so she will come in full. It's not just a presentation about Amelia Earhart. We will literally be having tea with Amelia Earhart. Adrienne will be doing a first person. Amelia Earhart, so she'll be in character,
Okay.
in costume, the whole thing, and so we're going to. It'll be kind of a special event. We like to do those where we put out our fancy tables and our fancy tablecloths, and we'll be having tea and pastries and different things to go along with the idea of. Maybe that time period where women would sit down together, or men. It's not a women's program by any means. It's for everyone. If you have small children, I'm not sure small children are really suitable. I'm not sure that she'll be interesting enough for really small kids. But I think if you've got kids, I don't know, maybe 14, 15, 16 that are interested in this kind of thing, I certainly think that's acceptable and doable. I think they would enjoy it. And so we do have it billed as an adult program, but I feel like if there's a mom and a child, or a dad and a child, whatever, want to come in, we can handle that. We do need reservations. So it's
Okay.
very important that you register because we do have to have space. It is limited. What else? What else are we going to do, Lacey? We're going to have.
Well, here's a fun fact. So it is a tea. It is a tea with Amelia, but she actually preferred hot chocolate. She didn't really care for coffee or hot tea. But I did find when she did because she became the first woman to fly nonstop solo across the Atlantic. When she had to do a forced stop in Ireland, and she was greeted, and they swarmed around her, and this family called the Gallaghers brought her in and had tea ready for her. So we thought it would be fun to even serve Irish tea as well. So kind of what she would have gotten, but also what she would have preferred if people actually knew she liked hot chocolate.
You can have coffee, hot chocolate, Irish tea. We'll be doing probably some scones and some different kinds of things that go kind of along with that tea idea. And again, thank you WTRE, because Adrienne does have a fee. I mean, all good performers do have a fee, and so sponsorship with WTRE is making that possible for us to do this. And I do think that it's something that, if you have interest in women's history, if you have interest in aviation, if you have interest in what it was like to live in that time period, interestingly enough, and I won't be able to remember the lady's name, and hopefully we'll be able to maybe put some information out, but there was another woman right about this same time who attempted and did the same thing that Amelia Earhart did, and was successful. But it's interesting that we don't really hear much about her. And I think because Amelia Earhart went missing, and there was that huge mystery around, where did she go down? What happened to her body? Where, and I do believe recently they thought they might have discovered where her plane was, or, there's been some information come out, but I don't know that it's anything specific. So it's, if you're interested in theater, coming to watch somebody portray, a character, any of those interests, I think would make this a program that people would really enjoy.
Or even if you just like snacks and hanging out with people.
Just like snacks, exactly.
Hot chocolate or tea.
Hot chocolate, tea.
And pastries. And
Emily Metz, if anybody knows Emily Metz, she's making us scones. They're going to be delicious.
I do not know Emily, and I have not had a scone from her, and I'm very excited because I did have scones in Ireland. Mm-hmm. So now I'm going to we'll see if Emily's scone. I'm sure they'll be delicious.
I'm sure delicious.
If you had scones in Ireland, were they like what we would see here?
Not quite. They're more biscuity, I think.
Okay.
And of course, they're big on whipped cream, clotted cream, all the delicious stuff that goes on top of them. I swear I was in Ireland almost a month, and I ate scones at least every other day. Wow. It was amazing. I still haven't lost the weight that I put on eating the scones in Ireland. But no, I'm sure Emily's scones are going to be excellent. But we will have some other things too. And I think some question and answer time. I think Adrienne's fairly well versed in Amelia. I know when she did Mary Shelley, she knew a lot about Mary Shelley, and so I'm excited about it. It starts at Adrienne is coming. The tea starts at 10, so right about that morning. Time to take a little morning break if you've been up and been busy doing things with the kids or whatever. Time to come in, have some tea, and listen to a really cool presentation from Adrienne about Amelia Earhart.
And this again is on March 29th?
This is March 29th, yes, at 10 o'clock. And I think we'll be finishing up, fairly close to noon. Maybe even a little bit earlier than that. If you have not, and we do have some fun table decorations and some fun things to put out for people to see. But if you've never really looked up Amelia Earhart and you've never seen the plane that she was flying in, it's just amazing to think about what air travel is like now, and to know that she, do we know how old she was? I probably knew at one point in time how old she was when she went down. She wasn't very old. She was probably in her 20s. I don't think she was very old. I feel bad. I didn't bring my phone in. I'm like, I can't Google anything to answer my own questions. The plane that she flew, just the fact that, she put herself in this plane that looks like, it ought to be a prop on a stage somewhere, and attempted to fly, around the world was amazing. Women in history have done, and we're finding out, every day, new stories come to light about women who stood behind, no offense to the men, but, women that stood behind the men that we do know in history. We've got the story of the women who ran all the numbers for the space flight and, had to check all the numbers because the computer was new and, they didn't know it was going to work. And so, those women made those calculations. African-American women made tremendous contributions to that effort. And so women who, worked in the wartime efforts, I buy books a lot. There's a lot of new literature coming out that talk about women who were spies during World War II, women who were, who passed things on in code during the wars. And so there's a lot of women in history that we really don't know much about, because they weren't the focal point. They were the behind the scenes kind of doing things, quietly and just, probably still feeding the kids breakfast and, going on.
Yep.
I think it was Marlene Dietrich. I think Marlene Dietrich was a spy. She was a big famous actress, but we didn't really know. And I'm pretty sure it was Marlene Dietrich. Anybody out there who's listening to me, I say that only with not having my specific information at hand, but I just got a book in about a trio of women who really pushed the war effort through by doing what they did, and without them, we may not have won. And so there's a lot of women in history who have that same kind of impact, and I think Amelia Earhart, again, it's how many years later? Did she go down 1920 27 or 26.
Yeah, she's
19.
the first woman to fly across
Okay, so
in
it must have been
32.
36 or 37. You know, people still recognize her name. You know, if you say Amelia Earhart, you know, people are like, oh yeah, I know her. She's the lady who, you know, flew the plane and we can't find her, kind of thing. And so I think it's really important during Women's History Month to, well, I think it's important all the time. Women's History Month obviously gives us a chance to focus on some of those things, but I think it's just really important to remember that, you know, across time, women have done amazing things. And, you know, if you read anything about the president's wives, you know, you know, from the beginning on, you know, some of those wives did amazing, incredible things that nobody's ever really heard about.
Right.
You know, it's their husbands that we heard about. So, so we're going to give Amelia her time and let her tell us her story. And
So, Lacey, you mentioned that she preferred hot chocolate.
Yes.
Any other facts or anything else that you have with you this morning on that?
I do have, not about the hot chocolate, but also they said instead of drinking the coffee, she also used smelling salts to keep her awake on the long flights, which I thought was very interesting.
Interesting.
A little glass bottle of smelling salts. And then beyond being the first woman to cross the Atlantic solo, she was the first woman to fly nonstop across the United States. And she established that record of 19 hours and 5 minutes. And she also set a women's distance record of 2,447 miles.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So across the United States in how long?
19 hours and 5 minutes.
19 hours. It takes almost that long to go across the United States today in a plane. Think about it. I mean, I just thinking about what modern airfare is like. Again, I can't get past this fact that this woman put herself in this plane carrying smelling salts, you know, having to be cognizant of the fact that she was getting tired. Remember, you know what I mean? Just the whole mindset of this woman who said, I'm going to do this thing, you know, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it well. And then I'd love to know, I mean, if you could go back, time travel, like where would you go back if you could time travel? Who would you want to talk to? And I'd love to be wherever she was at the moment, you know, because, you know, somebody knew that the plane went down. I mean, assuming unless it went down, you know, in the ocean or whatever, but I don't know. Just, I don't know. Sandy, where would you go?
So, I don't know, but how often would you have to refuel?
Right.
Right.
Right. Because it's just a small plane.
And where would you...
I guess you plan your stops. I mean, I guess you
Yeah, and
plan
how
your
many
stops,
airports
you
were
know.
available in
Right, so
1932?
you'd have to, I think they landed a lot of these planes in, you know, not necessarily runways, but flat fields or, you know, and I'm thinking in Ireland, you know, just what we know about Ireland, there's so little. Of course, back then it would have been a little bit different, but you know, there's so little space that would have been flat and not rocky and not hilly, and you know, the
She
island's
landed
not
in a
that-
field.
the
And this
island's not
flight,
that
she
big.
landed in a field. She didn't even get to an airport. She landed just in a field outside of Derry, Ireland, you
I
know?
don't know that there would have been an airport.
Yeah.
I don't know that would have been a thing. And Northern Ireland is very rocky, so it's a very. To me, it's just really interesting to think that, you know, that these people, they did these things, you know, and sometimes I have trouble getting here on time.
What?
So
Really?
sometimes. So yeah, I mean, I do think learning her story is I think it'll be an interesting program, but I really relish the fact that we have the opportunity to talk about some of these women, and we usually have a really interesting. We have the rock face portraits up this year, but we usually have a Jennifer, who works in our Indiana room, will often put up a big display of Women's History Month, and she always, you know, picks some really interesting people to put up there and you know, talk about it. And speaking of that, you know, if you want to know more about women in Indiana, women who, you know, did things in Indiana that we may not have known about, that's another good place for you to visit at the library, is to come into the Indiana room. And Jennifer's been working really hard at you know, putting together displays and grouping like subjects together, and she knows a lot about, you know, what happened to, you know, in the past in Decatur County's history. And so if you have a special family member that did something that was kind of incredible. Come in and we can research some of that. You can use Ancestry.com at the library. We have a new program called Form 3.
Fold 3.
What is it?
Fold 3.
Fold 3. Fold 3.
3.
FOLD 3. I don't understand where that came from, so I don't know where that name came from, but it's a military database.
I wonder if it's the flags.
Oh, it could be
The
that we
tri-
folded into the. Yeah, that could very well be. That's a good thought. Yeah.
Because it's
I don't
all
know.
military.
Yeah, you just on the military. So it's all military records. So you can research
Oh.
your histories, your military records in history of your ancestors, your grandparents, your great grandparents, and
Well, that's interesting.
it is very interesting. It's a new program that we have just recently purchased, and it's I think people, once they discover it, I think it will be well used. Unfortunately, some of those programs have to be used within the library. Like Ancestry.com doesn't give us the ability, like some of our things you can access from home, some of our databases. But Ancestry.com doesn't give us that right. They give us the right to have people use it in-house. But if you've got, a couple of hours, come in and look around and that's, I think, the other thing about programs like this, let's point out people in history, but let's also talk about, what we can find in history and, what we can find in our local libraries that help us, discover who we were and who our ancestors were and what they did to further, the world moving on, because they all did hard things. It'd be interesting to know more about your own family history.
So do you need an appointment to come in and utilize that room?
You do not. The Indiana room is open when the library is open.
Okay.
We do have microfilm machines, so we have all the newspapers back to the early 1800s that you can look things up in. I will warn you, it is a giant rabbit hole. Once you start getting into it, you'll be like, oh, I was looking for this specific thing, but look at this. Look how much dresses cost. Look how much eggs were. Look at this article they wrote about this person. I mean, it's really a fascinating thing to do if you've got a few hours to spare.
So you're saying come early.
Come early, stay all day, come back the next day. We do have people who travel in to Greensburg and stay for like a weekend to come to the Indiana room and go through their family history and look for things that have been, that they know we have because they have family who've lived in this area or grew up in this area kind of thing. So yeah, I think that the ability to look some of that stuff up at the library is a good thing for people to know about. Again, you can use the databases, but they're just the Indiana room itself has, just a wealth of information, plat maps, burial records.
There's so many records out there.
Wow, marriage records.
I think some of it's broken up by township even.
Right.
Township records.
It's
There's so much
old,
in there.
Old phone books. It's so much fun to go look in like the 1915 phone book and see if there were any Durbins in the phone book kind of thing. Of course, I'd be looking for my mom's maiden name to see if if there were Vanderpools in the phone book. But in old yearbooks, we have yearbooks from, oh gosh, probably the 40s, maybe even the 30s.
Okay.
And now those are not on open display because people tend to steal them, unfortunately. And so you do have to ask for the key to the cabinet to be able to look at the yearbooks. If there's anything that you can't get into in the Indiana room, it will be open for you if you go into the front desk and ask for that. And Jennifer has also been working really hard on putting together, like I said, different kinds of displays and making sure that we have books that do further that Decatur County history. She's been and archiving things and making sure that things are stored properly. She has a museum background, and so she's working with people to make sure that our things are being stored in ways that my children's children will be able to see those at some point. So yeah, I think knowing that we have all those things in the library, this kind of a program is kind of goes right along with what the library is trying to do. We're always looking into the future, always. But I think it's sometimes good to take a few minutes and look back and see what was happening before that. So the library, the Greensburg Carnegie Library, would have been in 32. We've been around since 1905. So the library would have been, 20 some odd years old since, in the time frame that she was making her Atlantic flight. So yeah. Anything else about the program, Lacey, that you want to make sure we tell them?
I don't think so. Just make sure to sign up. It's greensburglibrary.org/events, or you can go to our Facebook page. You have access to that. We post a lot of posts about our upcoming programming.
We also have Instagram and a TikTok channel now, which is kind of fun. If you're not following us on TikTok, Karen does a great job of putting out some fun little things for TikTok. Sean saw the Harry Potter one, or the Wicked one, not too long ago. And he was like, "This is genius." So go back and look at the library's page. It's genius.
And all of our socials are just G Berg Library. So it's straight across the board. It's all G Berg Library.
That way everybody can find us everywhere.
Yes.
And of course, if you want to just stop in, we'd love to have you stop in. You can sign up at the front desk. Like I said, there is a limit. Is it 40? 35, we think. We used to try to cram a lot more people into the meeting room pre-COVID, but we're a little more conscious of the fact that people don't necessarily want to sit on each other's laps. Yeah. Sometimes I look back and I think, wow.
How did we get so many people in here?
Giant things with that room, but we've scaled back a little bit. It is a lot more comfortable for everyone, but it will be an event. It's not just like I said, it's not just a presentation about Amelia Earhart. It's an event. And again, thank you to WTRE, and we've been working with Kathy on that, and it's a great partnership for us to have.
And here's a little, if you don't know already, this August we will have lunch with Elvis. And then that's a partnership
we are all shook up about it, let me tell you.
Yes, and that's also a partnership with WTRE, which we're really grateful for, and we're going to hopefully have that out on our patio space, our new patio space outside.
That's the plan. But yes, Elvis will be in.
Elvis will be in the building.
Not if it's outside.
Well, we'll let him in.
We'll let him in.
He might need to go to the bathroom.
He might need a change, or I don't know.
And we'll be serving some interesting foods. Elvis-themed food. We've been brainstorming. Of course, there's all these, I think it was Sandy who said we should do Love Me Tenderloins at one time. So, Sandy's, if you ever need to brainstorm punny things,
I love
Sandy's
it.
your girl.
I love
she's
a pun.
Got it. Me too.
I love it.
Yeah, we've talked about. Gosh, what have we? Well, of course, the peanut butter and banana sandwiches.
Right.
We have to throw that in there somehow. I'm not sure how we'll do that, but we're gonna have Elvis. He's coming complete with scarves.
Ooh, Audience
People
attendees may be getting
a
this
little scarf.
a little scarf from Elvis.
So yeah, obviously Elvis still lives.
Save the date. Mark your calendars.
Yeah, it's
What
in
date
August.
was that? August what?
It's August. It's a Saturday. I think the 16th.
It's on our calendar.
It's on the calendar.
Yeah.
Yep,
we're still.
It's a while out.
Yeah, we got a little while. We've got summer reading before then.
We got to have Amelia Earhart in before we can have Elvis in.
But we do. It is. It's this kind of partnership is what makes it possible for us to do so many of the things that we do. Without community support. Support of our patrons, people make gift donations, that kind of thing, and that's where we don't. People are always like, you get your money from fines and fees. Well, we didn't, and we don't have fines and fees anymore. Nope. And so we have a budget. We have a budget that we are established every year, but that of course doesn't cover a large chunk of some of the things that we'd like to do. And so having that kind of partnership has been really, really successful. We're partnering right now with the health department and the Purdue Extension Office for the cooking program that we're doing. Has been extremely well attended.
Good.
We will be doing it again. I know that the health department and the Purdue Extension Office, everybody's kind of on board with making sure that it happens again. People are learning a lot, and that's important in today's economy, to learn how to cook healthfully and on a budget.
And we do have on the books, we have in August and September with the Purdue Extension. I think it's called Eating Smart and Moving More or something like that. It's very similar to the program we're doing now, but
it has an exercise component.
Yes.
And we're also doing gardening program. We'll be doing a canning program. We're trying to figure out ways to help people maximize their food budgets, especially with the farmers market coming in. But we also, it's not all about that. We also do bingo and donuts.
I love bingo and donuts. And music bingo.
Music bingo. Lacey did game night at Westport last night, Sandy.
Oh, how
I
was
did.
that?
It was so fun. We had a big group of like a family, but then we had a small group that had never been to the Westport Library at all. It was a grandmother, a mother, and her, I think he was like 5, and they played games and they were so excited. And I know Katrina and Marcy are going to start doing story time down there, so we talked to them
Doing
about
bingo
that.
down there.
We're doing bingo down there. We're doing that this Wednesday at 1. So if you're in the Westport area, please come see me. I'll have prizes and a little bit of a snack.
If you're not in the Westport area and you want to drive to the Westport
Yeah,
area,
it's beautiful.
Go play bingo. Have Pizzalicious. Or there's a Mexican place there now. You come
Tacos.
for lunch.
Tacos,
Eat in
tacos.
Westport. I don't know if the coffee shop is open every day, but I don't know.
Dairy
What else
Queen
is in
will be.
Westport?
Is Dairy Queen open
Queen
now?
Might be open by then. Bingo, lunch, dessert. I mean, what can you ask for? What more can you ask for?
Yeah, but if you're talking 2 restaurants, you better eat lunch before you play bingo.
And then
So you
have
could get something for the way home.
Or you could pick
Or-
up pizza for dinner.
the night. Or if that doesn't work, you can always come back to bingo the next time.
Exactly.
And go to a different place. But we're super, super excited about offering things in the Westport area. It's been something we've been thinking about for a really long time. Katrina and Marcy are very excited about being able to offer story time to the kids over there. And I think that Lacey and I will eventually, once everything's kind of ironed out and we know how things are working, we'll probably start doing maybe a craft program there as well. I know there are people who enjoy that. There are all kinds. I honestly sometimes do not know how we fit all the programs in that we fit in a month's time. And it is amazing the things that are going on in the library. Children's programming, teen programming. Sherry did planting.
Oh, she had
She
herbs,
did
an
an herb garden
planting.
program yesterday for the teens. Adult programming, the Indiana room, displays. There's just a
Book clubs.
Book
We have book
clubs.
clubs for adults, and I know Jill does one for the kids. I mean, there's so much going on.
So many things going on.
Movies. We show movies.
And we can offer a little bit of a teaser. Lacey and I are thinking of putting together a Wicked movie night before the second one comes out so that we can have a little Wicked party and do a little Wicked, that's a fun little theme to work on.
We love a theme.
We love themes and puns and themes and food, those things.
And we can make that all work in one
all
thing.
in one thing. That's right. We make puns and themes and food all in one fell swoop, and interesting programs. I think that if you haven't visited the library, I know I've been doing a lot of reading and I watch some videos and I'm seeing a lot of people saying things like, I can't afford my streaming services anymore. Cancel them. Come get a library card. We have access. If you have Audible, we have Libby. We have Hoopla. Hoopla has movies. We have Canopy. Canopy has movies. We have DVDs. We have audiobooks. We have books. We have magazines. Hoopla has magazines. If you're trying to save money, the library is your place to go. That library card comes to you. If you live in Decatur County, it comes to you with your tax dollars. We will it doesn't cost you anything to get one. Come in and see all the things that we can offer. It's just a kind of an unlimited possibility. If people ask us for things, we try really hard to follow through on those. If there are programs that they're interested in, there's a lot going on in your public library, not just here, but public libraries across the United States. They really are. There's a quote, and I won't remember who said it, but the quote is something to the effect of, libraries will get you through time of no money better than money would get you through times of no libraries. And I think it's really important to remember, Andrew Carnegie gave us money to build our library in 1905. We've been serving the Decatur County community in some aspect since 1905. Whether that was just in the city of Greensburg, now we are an entire county-wide library. I think that it's really important to remember how much the public library does impact people's lives. You don't have a printer at home? we'll print things for you. You know, you don't have a computer at home, we have computers.
You need to fax something and you've never faxed anything before in your life, we have a fax
We have a
machine.
fax machine. You know, you need a quiet place. You need a quiet place to hang out for a couple of hours. Come on over. Bring your drink with a lid on it. You know, come over, pick up a magazine, leaf through it. You know, relax. We are in the process of putting together a check-outable board game collection. So those board games would be available. Come on over, check out a board game. You can take it home. They're not ready yet. We're just now getting started on getting it in.
Okay.
But
It's a little teaser.
Looking for things to help people weather the economy that we're living in. And we know food is more expensive. We know, people don't have access to the things that maybe they've had in the past. And the library has a really amazing way of helping with that. Come and see us. I can't really say it any more clearly than that.
And if we don't have it, we have our Evergreen system. We can get things from other libraries. Other libraries have video games. It's, if your kid wants this new video game and you don't want to pay it or you don't know what it's about, you could reserve it and they'll bring it here.
Okay.
And not only that, but we, for the last over a year or so, we have a little free pantry out in front, for people who might just need to sustain, a day of not having something to eat. We put in connection with the health department this year, we put in the community care closet so that we could give people warm clothing. We have the kids closet, which is great for kids, but adults need warm clothing as well. And so we have that available. If you can't get a library card for some reason, we have a little free library where you can take things out of there for reading material. We try to do what we can. And if you need connected to resources in the community, someone in the library can help connect you to those resources. If you need to know more about, if you need food stamps or SNAP benefits, or you need, we have a kiosk that will help you find living situation.
Okay.
There's just a lot at your public library. And again, libraries are for everyone, and not just the Greensburg-Decatur County Public Library, but libraries, across the board. That's what we're all doing out there. And we're having fun, bringing Amelia Earhart to the library as well.
Absolutely.
So, a lot of hard work, a lot of fun, and a lot of good things happening at the library.
All right. Lori Durbin, Lacey Gibson with the Greensburg-Decatur County Library. Thanks for coming in. 925 WTRE Greensburg.